The narrative of Todd Grimshaw, portrayed with devastating nuance by Gareth Pierce in ITV's Coronation Street, stands as one of the soap's most meticulously crafted and psychologically harrowing storylines in recent years. What began as a complex new relationship has metastasized into a graphic and unflinching portrayal of domestic abuse within a same-sex relationship, subverting stereotypes and forcing viewers to confront the grim reality of coercive control and violence. Todd, a character historically known for his scheming, resilience, and sharp wit, has been systematically broken down, trapped in a private hell engineered by Theo Silverton, James Cartwright. This is not merely a plotline, but a sustained exploration of trauma, isolation, and the fragile roadmap to escape. The following analysis delves deep into the progression of this abuse, the destruction left in its wake, the failed interventions, and the potential paths to salvation for Todd, now more crucial than ever in the devastating aftermath of Billy Mayhew's death. Theo Silverton was not initially introduced as a monster. The revelation of his subjection to conversion therapy provided a layer of tragic sympathy, a backstory explaining vulnerability and pain. This complexity made the subsequent reveal of his abusive nature all the more insidious. The red flags, as identified in the narrative, were not mere quirks but the deliberate testing of boundaries. Phase 1. Coercion and isolation. Theo's strategy followed the classic abuser's handbook. His campaign to sever Todd's support network was immediate and strategic. The dark threats to James Bailey, the digging up of past violent incidents to weaponize Todd's own history, and the explicit demand to cut ex-boyfriend Billy out of his life were foundational steps. By isolating Todd from his past and his confidence, Theo began to establish himself as Todd's sole source of reality, validation, and, eventually, safety. Phase 2. Humiliation and degradation. The escalation from psychological to physical abuse often begins with acts designed to strip away dignity rather than cause serious injury. The force-feeding of the kebab and the pouring of milk over Todd's head were public and private spectacles of humiliation. They were not about hunger or cleanliness. They were about power, demonstrating Theo's absolute control over Todd's body and his right to violate his personal autonomy in the most demeaning ways. Phase 3. Gaslighting and instrumental violence. As Todd's internal resistance grew, Theo's tactics evolved. The gaslighting, making Todd question his own perception of events, was coupled with more direct violence. Smashing Todd's head into a mirror was a pivotal moment, crossing a line into life-threatening danger. The genius, from Theo's narcissistic perspective, was the premeditated use of hidden cameras. By editing the footage of Todd's desperate self-defense, Theo weaponized the justice system itself against his victim. This act served a dual purpose. It physically harmed Todd, and it legally entrapped him, making the outside world see Todd as the aggressor and Theo as the victim. This is a level of calculated malice that transcends simple rage. It is forensic and cold. Phase 4. Ultimate control, murder and capitalization on grief. The car crash and Billy's murder represented the final horrifying consolidation of Theo's power. Seeing Todd's escape route, both literally in Billy and figuratively, Theo acted with homicidal decisiveness. Ensuring Billy was trapped and leaving him to die was an act of ultimate possession. It sent Todd the clearest possible message: anyone who tries to help you will be eliminated. In the raw, devastating aftermath of Billy's death, Theo positioned himself as the sole comforter, the only refuge in a storm of grief. Todd's agreement to return was not a choice made from love, but from utter despair and terror. With his lifeline severed and his abuser having proven he will kill to maintain control, Todd's psychological imprisonment is now absolute. Billy Mayhew, Daniel Brocklebank, served as the moral and emotional counterweight to Theo throughout the storyline. His history with Todd, fraught yet foundational, and his inherent goodness as a vicar made him the natural would-be savior. His journey mirrored that of many friends and family of abuse victims. The dawning suspicion, the careful approach, the moment of breakthrough when the victim confides, the planning of an escape, and the tragic, fatal interception by the abuser. Billy's death is not just a shock twist. It is a narrative device that raises the stakes to almost unbearable heights. It demonstrates the very real, mortal danger Theo poses. However, Billy's role may not be over. The discovery of the unedited camera footage was his crucial piece of detective work. The fan theory that he safeguarded this evidence is not a long shot. It is a narrative necessity. In classic soap opera tradition, and in the real-world dynamics of abuse, evidence is often hidden. Billy, intelligent and caring, would have known the footage was Todd's only credible ticket to freedom. Whether he emailed it to himself, sent it to a cloud storage, hid a physical copy, or confided in another person, like Summer or even the mysterious Vincent Harper, this Chekhov's gun is almost certainly still in play. Billy's posthumous salvation of Todd would be a fitting, poignant end to his arc, a final act of love and protection from beyond the grave. Executive producer Kate Brooks' promise that people will start to look out for Todd indicates a collective, community-based rescue mission, which is often the reality in such situations. Several characters are positioned to play key roles: George Shuttleworth and Glenda, the most promising, unlikely duo. George's father-figure bond with Todd is deep and has survived Theo's attempts to sabotage it. George's return to an even keel with Todd is critical. It provides Todd a safe space outside the flat, the funeral home, and a link to normality. Glenda, with her sharp intuition and formidable manipulative prowess, used for good for once, is Theo's perfect foil. She saw through him instantly. While George offers gentle support, Glenda has the tactical cunning and fearlessness to potentially outmaneuver Theo, gather evidence, or engineer a confrontation. Sarah Platt. Sarah represents the powerful, loyal friend who operates outside Theo's expected sphere of influence. He sees her as a nuisance to be managed, but he gravely underestimates her ferocity and her history with Todd. Her confrontation in the van showed zero fear. Having already been suspicious of Theo's infidelity, it is a short step for her to pivot to suspicions of abuse, especially as Todd becomes a broken shadow. Sarah's strength and her platform within the Platt/Barlow empire give her the resources and the sheer force of will to become a major threat to Theo's control. Summer Spellman. Now living under the same roof, Summer is uniquely positioned to witness the unvarnished truth. Her father-daughter bond with Todd and her own experiences with trauma and manipulation through her eating disorder and past relationships have made her emotionally astute. Her concern has already been piqued. Witnessing even a fraction of Theo's behavior firsthand, or noticing Todd's extreme anxiety and injuries, could compel her to act. As a tech-savvy young adult, she might also be the one to digitally uncover evidence, including any Billy may have left behind. The Allahans, Bernie, and Diev. The overlooked neighbors are a classic trope with potent potential. Bernie's direct action in calling the police after overhearing an incident was a significant moment. It was an outside authority briefly brushing against Todd's world. That it led nowhere, likely due to Todd's terrified cover-up, is tragically realistic. However, with the flat above the shop, they are permanent auditory witnesses. A sustained campaign of listening, documenting times and dates of incidents, could provide the collateral evidence needed to support Todd's word against Theo's polished lies. Gary Windus. The wild card. Gary's work relationship with Theo and his own history of violence give him a unique insight. He may recognize the signs of controlling behavior or uncontained rage, not as a domestic abuse campaigner would, but as someone familiar with aggression. If Theo's behavior starts to jeopardize their business or Gary's own standing, Gary's intervention would not be born of altruism but of self-interest, yet it could be no less effective. He is one of the few characters physically capable of facing Theo down. Vincent Harper, the intriguing newcomer. The fan theory connecting him to Billy is compelling. If he was a past partner or close friend, Billy may have confided his fears about Theo in letters, emails, or during conversations. His arrival, potentially for Billy's funeral, could be the introduction of an entirely new objective party who arrives with pre-existing suspicions and the professional credibility, as a surgeon, to be taken seriously. The Grimshaw Cavalry, Eileen and Jason, the heartfelt dream of the audience. Eileen Grimshaw's return would be an emotional earthquake. Her maternal ferocity, famously demonstrated against Gail Platt, is precisely the kind of unbreakable, lioness energy needed to dismantle Theo's carefully constructed facade. Combined with Jason's physical presence and brotherly loyalty, their return would provide the unconditional, familial sanctuary Todd would need to begin healing. While currently a dream, soaps have a history of bringing back beloved characters for pivotal story resolutions. Kate Brooks' emphasis on the delicate and sensitive approach to Todd's rescue is crucial. A dramatic single-scene confrontation leading to immediate freedom would undermine the complexity of the storyline. Real recovery from coercive control is a process. The collective realization, this is already beginning. It won't be one person with a eureka moment, but a series of shared glances, quiet conversations between Sarah and Glenda, George and Summer, where worries are compared and a pattern is collectively verified. The quiet campaign, instead of directly confronting Todd, which could panic him and lead to further isolation, the network will likely begin a campaign of subtle reinclusion. Constant, low-pressure invitations, ensuring Todd is never alone with Theo in public if possible. Rebuilding his eroded connections brick by brick, reminding him of who he was. The evidence gathering, this will be key, especially with Theo's manipulation of the legal system. Summer finding Billy's hidden footage, Bernie and Deb's log of incidents, Glenda secretly recording a rant. These pieces will form an irrefutable case. The intervention. When the network finally moves, it will need to be swift, coordinated, and offer absolute safety. It may involve creating a diversion to separate Todd from Theo, having a bag pre-packed, and having a secure location, perhaps a secret room at the funeral home or Sarah's house, ready. They must be prepared for Todd's resistance, a symptom of the trauma bond. The aftermath. Escape is not the end. The storyline, if it continues to be responsibly handled, must show the long tail of trauma. Todd's PTSD, his guilt over Billy, his fear of Theo's retaliation, and the slow, painful process of rebuilding trust in himself and others. The support network will be vital here, not just in securing his escape, but in supporting his recovery. The Todd and Theo storyline is more than a plot. It is a public service narrative that holds a mirror to a horrific reality faced by many, regardless of gender or sexuality. By showing the gradual escalation, the sophisticated manipulation, and the profound isolation, Coronation Street is educating its audience on the signs of coercive control. Todd's hell is vividly realized, but the promised rallying of his community offers a powerful message. That even in the most carefully constructed prison, cracks can appear and hope can be collective. His salvation, when it comes, will not be the work of a lone hero, but of a cobbled-together family, by blood, by friendship, and by circumstance, finally seeing the truth and refusing to look away. The death of Billy marks the darkest hour, but from it must emerge not a single savior, but a united front, determined to pull Todd Grimshaw back from the abyss and ensure Theo Silverton faces the consequences of his meticulously crafted nightmare.